Hi guys, did you see the flying ghost? That was the carbon dioxide gases. You can't see it. You can't smell it. But it's quietly warming our planet.
Carbon dioxide is an invisible gas released from power plants, factories, and vehicles. Too much of it traps heat in the atmosphere, causing global warming and climate change. Once CO enters the air, it stays for a very long time. That's why reducing emissions alone is not enough. So, in order to combat this problem, we need to catch the CO2. By using the carbon capture and storage CCS technology, CO2 can be reduced. Hence, the global warming can also reduced. How the CCS technology catches the CO2? Let's see how it works. Firstly, the CO2 will be captured, then it will be transported to a place for storing it under the sea. Now, moving on to the first step, which is capture. The CO2 will be captured and processed under few steps. During the factory process, lots of gases were released. To separate the CO2, 3 types of combustion can be used, which is post, pre, and oxy-fuel combustion. First, fossil fuel burned in air-producing flue gas, then inserted into the capture unit and scrubbing to clean the CO2 gas. CO2-free gas will release more cleaned CO2 gas produced in post-combustion. In pre-combustion, the fuel is heated and split into hydrogen and CO2 before burning, then burned into energy, while the CO2 were captured and compressed into the storage. Moving on to the oxy-fuel combustion, where pure oxygen were used instead of air to burn the fuel. Mostly CO2 and water were produced. The water is condensed, leaving a concentrated CO2 ready for capture and storage. Now, let's see how the CO2 were transported and stored. The captured CO2 will be compressed and squeezed. In this form, the CO2 can be transported using the pipelines. The squeezed CO2 entered the pipelines and safely traveled to storage sites ready to be stored or used. These CO2 also can travel using specialized ships or trucks. Finally, the CO2 arrived at its storage, often deep underground, in rock formations, as it is safely trapped and kept out from atmosphere.
Carbon capture and storage, or CCS, has evolved into an essential industrial policy for tackling climate change. By 2025, more than 80 commercial-scale CCS facilities are operating or under construction around the world. Together, these facilities capture over 60 million tons of carbon dioxide every year, 25% more than the year before. North America continues to lead CCS implementations. The CCS in Edmonton, Canada, removed 1 million tons of CO2 per year and has safely stored over 6 million tons since 2015. Brazil's Santos Basin CCS project injected 14.2 million tons of CO2 into deep offshore formations in 2024. Europe's Northern Lights project in Norway enables industrial CO2 from multiple countries to be transported and stored under the North Sea, with initial capacity of 1.5 million tons per year and expansion to 5 million tons per year by 2028. In Australia, the Moomba CCS plant has stored 340,000 tons by 2024 and is projected to store 1.7 million tons per year at full capacity. These facilities together capture over 60 million tons of CO2 each year, safely storing it in geological formations like saline aquifer, oil and gas reservoirs, and basalt formations.
Benefits of CCS.
One of the most important benefits of CCS is its ability to reduce emissions from hard-to-abate industries such as cement, steel, chemicals, and refining. These sectors contribute approximately 30% of global CO2 emissions, and their process-related emissions cannot be eliminated by electrification alone. By capturing CO2 directly at the source, CCS allows this industry to operate with a significantly lower carbon footprint. Carbon capture and storage also plays a critical role in sustaining energy security during the global energy transition. It allows existing fossil fuel-based power plants and industrial facilities to continue operating with significantly lower emissions, while renewable energy capacity is expanded. This is especially important for developing economies where the replacement of fossil fuels may not be technically or economically feasible. CCS therefore acts as a transition technology, supporting a smoother and more realistic pathway to a low-carbon energy system. Perhaps the most critical role of carbon capture and storage is its contribution to achieving global climate targets. According to International Energy Agency, CCS could deliver up to 15% of the total emission reductions needed by 2050 to reach net zero. This includes capturing carbon from power plants, industrial facilities, and even directly from the atmosphere through direct air capture.
Carbon capture and storage has strong potential to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but its deployment is limited by significant economic and financial challenges. CSS projects require very high upfront capital investment, including capture facilities, transport pipelines, and long-term storage infrastructure. These costs are particularly high for first-of-a-kind projects, where limited experience and data increase financial risk. In addition, the cost-effectiveness of CSS remains uncertain. Different economic models produce varying results, making it difficult for investors to assess long-term viability. Unlike renewable energy technologies, CSS has not yet demonstrated consistent cost reductions over time. Policy support also remains uneven. Carbon pricing mechanisms, incentives, and regulations differ widely across countries, resulting in uncertain revenue streams. Without stable and long-term policy frameworks, investors face difficulties forecasting returns.
Environmental and safety risks represent another major challenge for carbon capture and storage, particularly during geological storage of carbon dioxide. In CSS projects, carbon dioxide is typically injected deep underground into saline aquifers under high pressure. This process increases pore pressure and alters stress conditions within rock formations. As a result, there is a risk of induced seismic activity and unintended carbon dioxide migration through faults or fractures. These risks are higher in geological formations that are not well characterized, such as deep saline aquifers with limited monitoring data. In addition, poorly managed storage sites may affect groundwater quality or surrounding ecosystems if leakage occurs. Although the probability of large-scale leakage is low when best practices are followed, these risks must be carefully managed. Careful site selection, continuous monitoring, and robust regulatory frameworks are therefore essential to ensure environmental safety and maintain public confidence in CSS technologies. Environmental and safety risks represent another major challenge for carbon capture and storage, particularly during geological storage of carbon dioxide. In CSS projects, carbon dioxide is typically.
Lastly, for the challenges, public perception and social acceptance play a critical role in the successful deployment of carbon capture and storage technologies. Many communities remain skeptical about CSS due to concerns over safety, environmental impacts, and its association with fossil fuel use. In particular, the use of captured CO2 for enhanced oil recovery is often perceived as extending oil production rather than reducing emissions. Social opposition can also arise through the not in my backyard effect, where communities resist industrial projects near their homes, even when economic benefits are offered. To overcome these challenges, transparent communication and early community engagement are essential. Local communities must be involved in decision-making processes, particularly during site selection and environmental assessments. Lastly, for the challenges, public perception and social acceptance play a critical role in the successful deployment of carbon capture and storage technologies. Many communities.
The future prospect of the carbon capture and storage depends on strong integration between technology innovation, policy support, and global cooperation. Emerging capture technologies, including advanced solvents, membrane separation, bioenergy with CCS, and AI-based system optimization, are expected to reduce costs and improve efficiency. At the same time, supportive policies such as tax incentives, public funding, and clear long-term liability frameworks are essential to encourage large-scale investment. Expanding CCS infrastructure through regional hubs can significantly lower costs and enable wider participation. Finally, international collaboration and advanced geological monitoring will be critical to ensure safe, reliable, and effective CCS deployment in global climate mitigation efforts. For the sustainability, carbon capture and storage is recognized as a critical technology in deep decarbonization pathways. and plays a key role in achieving long-term climate targets. CCS supports sustainability by aligning with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly affordable and clean energy and sustainable industrial development. While CCS increases the levelized cost of electricity and reduces plant efficiency, it allows fossil fuel power plants to remain reliable and dispatchable, supporting energy system stability. In industrial applications where carbon dioxide is already separated, CCS becomes more energy efficient and practical.
Now let's see one of the real-life applications for CCS. The Sleipner Project, Norway. Meet our little ghost of CO2. He loves hanging out in the atmosphere, but humans have a plan. This ghost get caught and put into the fuel combustion process. Then, he was compressed and transported through the pipelines or special ships or trucks. Then, he safely arrived at his new homes, which stored deep underground in porous rocks where he can't float and cause trouble anymore.